today we are looking at Tarawa. And it's going to be changed. I'm going to change the name. And that's because when I first got the kit, the figures came from a kit called Tarawa. So I'm like, cool, I like the name. And I read a little bit about Tarawa, but I didn't understand that it couldn't really support this depth. I was looking at jungle scenes on Tarawa, and there was plenty of them, and it was great, today. But it's only like 20, 25 feet above the surface. So yeah, you couldn't dig this. So it needs to be Okinawa. So that will be changed. I'll get me a little plaque, and this is going to be called Okinawa. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to look at the building of it and everything. So I'm just going to break it down as I built it, which was basically from the bottom up. And we'll look at every little part that I built. Hope you like it. Okay, so one of the things that's a little unique about this, obviously, is it's round. And the reason was I wanted something round, and I wanted to have things on all sides. And I thought, well, round would be nice. Well, it had a few problems. What really I wanted to achieve, I finally did using this little crank handle that I made, as well as right in here, there's a worm drive. So there's a gear on the bottom of the plate that the diorama is sitting on. And so that, by cranking that little worm gear, and I'll show you a video of that. So that little worm gear allows me to turn this, in either direction, and it's really smooth. I took quite a while to get that nice. And then down there you can see the command room and the radio room, and I'll show you pictures of that. And when I was done with that, I went ahead and started building this. That is a little rail where they're delivering munitions for the next level that we'll look at next. And in here is the power room, and I've got one soldier in there, working on batteries. There's a diesel generator in there. And I think one of the fun things is there's a bicycle and a dynamo. I think it's called a dynamo, but a generator, whatever, to get power even in the most dire circumstances. They lose everything else. They've got that backup. So I just think it's neat. It's really cool kind of field expedient planning and stuff like that. So now the second level, this starts out and everything here is in support of an artillery position. So that's a 71 millimeter, and I'll double check that. But a 71 millimeter gun in there, and I'll show you the build pictures of this real quick, and then I'll come back and finish explaining it. There's these guys. They're the guys that are trying to pick up from a cave-in one of the tunnels. So they had a cave-in there to the left. Here, the artillery group, they're fine still. They're getting ready to fire. They have been firing, but they stopped fire. And then here, we've got a lift. So it's really hard to see, and if you don't know what you're looking at, you're probably not going to figure it out. I mean, maybe, you could. But it's a lift, and that lift brings ammunition up from, we're going to go to the bottom level now, from here. And so that's ammunition crates there, and they're, bringing shells upstairs. And you can see that lift right here. That is the middle level. Now we'll look at the top. On the top, we actually span, from the middle of the diorama all the way up, because it's supposed to be on a pretty extreme hill, and I think it is. Now there's an old trail coming up, and we've got 3 Marines. They are coming into a place because what they're doing is, after the initial shelling of the island, then the Marines landed, and then they would infiltrate the area. And then obviously they first look for positions. They're looking for positions that are on the island. Well, this one's not firing because the Japanese IJA soldiers were told, hold off firing once they land until they're right in front of you and then attack. Well, that's kind of what's happening here. So what's happening is this is a splash mark. This is from the artillery that was first, called in on the island prior to landing. This rock was, from a distance, kind of seen as what they thought was the position down here. So these guys are a recon team to go out and make sure this position is taken out, and then look for intel and all that kind of stuff in Japanese soldiers. Well, as they're coming up here, we've got 2 IJA soldiers here and one up here that, they're just about ready to ambush these guys. And then, of course, I've got these palm trees up here. So that's a look at the whole diorama. Now, the story is, prior to the Marines going in there, because of the cave-in that happened on the back of this, and I'm trying to crank this all around, because of the cave-in right here, they went up topside to assess damage. And so the 2 soldiers, IJA soldiers, one there, he's there, and then the other guy's there. What they were doing is they were digging, because one of them actually happens to be an archaeologist. He was an archaeologist before he was in the army. And they saw this little crevasse open up because of the shelling splash mark. The artillery came in, blew up like part of this rock and stuff like that, and it opened up this little fissure. And so they grabbed a couple of shovels that they had, because they went up there to cover any damage. They want to make sure that their position is not seen. And they notice this crevasse, and they start digging. Well, they're digging for just a little bit, and they find an ancient tomb. So they find a tomb underground, and because one of them is an archaeologist, they start digging, and they discover the shell has opened an ancient tomb. Well, this is a Jomon tomb, by the way, and there's a whole story about that. And I'll show you pictures about the build here. the story is the Jomon people were the first people of the Japanese archipelago, 16,000 years ago. Now, the Marines that are coming up here, the last guy in line here, the third guy, he's an archaeologist. He also knows this guy right here. And he's one of the soldiers. And again, he's an archaeologist. He was an archaeologist, and they met at a conference prior to the war, a number of years before the war. And so that's going to prevent this whole crazy thing, from going bad and them shooting him, because right now he's just about to see through the bushes the third guy, and he's going to recognize him. And that guy, so anyway, that's going to stop them shooting, and they're going to discover and, start talking about the Jomon tomb. So that is Tarawa. And, it's one of my favorites. I really like it. It's one of those dioramas that it was kind of a, I wanted the diorama and the case to be a one thing. I wanted to make that display case specifically for Tarawa, that, with the turntable and everything like that. And so it was a really, really neat diorama for that. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And next time, I think we're going to look at an M41 Walker Bulldog, which was a really fun project that I did a number of years ago. And maybe not my best diorama, but I really like it. And I did some fun stuff on it. Every diorama I do, I try to do something new. I try to kind of expand what I'm doing. I never go into it thinking I'm just going to do this, that, and the other because I know how to do them. I always throw something in like, man, I've never done that. So that's part of the thing that makes it challenging and interesting and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, and thank you very much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see ya.